Okay, here we are. Welcome to the Mind Body Energy Project. Happy New Year, Tiffany.
Happy 2019, Yolanda.
Happy 20 effing 19.
Here we go.
Brought this thing in sick.
Uh-huh. Not like the cool kind of sick, but like actually sick.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, snotty nose.
I was I'm not
Ball.
as sick as you are, but I've had my fair share at the end of 2018. And
Yeah.
but last night I had a little bit of a scratchy throat and I was kind of tired and aching. I was like, So I took a Zicam. I don't know if people know about Zicam, but somebody turned me onto it last time I was sick. And it's like a pre-cold thing. So I took one last night and then I fell asleep on my couch and I woke up and it was still in my mouth.
Oh
I
my
realized,
God.
yeah, it's very dangerous.
That is very dangerous.
I woke up and I was like, oh my God, it's a good thing I'm still alive.
Maybe they should make them like lifesavers for
Yeah,
people
so
like
there's a
you.
breathing hole. Is
Yeah.
that why they named lifesavers lifesavers?
Yes, ma'am.
My mind is blown. I've
Don't
never,
make me laugh. You'll make me cough.
I have never thought about that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Look at us
Well,
blowing minds in the first 2 minutes.
yep,
Happy New
yep,
Year.
yep.
So, before we get into our talk today, Tiffany and I are both glad to be home.
Yes.
As you all noticed and we mentioned, we pre-recorded quite a few things last month because we were both traveling to the East Coast for the holiday. And that's how I got sick. So, how was your trip?
It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good being with family and the kids and yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I always love being with my cousins because, like my cousins are like, we grew up kind of like all siblings and my family's huge. And so, yeah, I had a really good time, but it was freezing over there. And yeah, anyway,
Yep.
here we are back home. So glad to be back in Cali.
Yeah.
Ah.
I'm just happy to kind of like get things in line and in order now. And now that we're in Capricorn season, that's all we're going to be feeling, right?
Yeah. So, well, that's a great segue. So we're
I was
talking
just going
about
to say that.
today the pressures of New Year because it's so funny to me when you think about it too, because it's like, whoa, Happy New Year. Oh my God, it's so exciting. Ah! But then we also seem to have like a lot of pressure and judgment on ourselves around this time. So I wanted to ask you, to start, and please help me because I haven't had coffee today. Um, what has that been like for you, like this year in particular? Have you had like this building up of like, oh my God, what am I going to do in the new year? And like, how are you sitting with all of that now?
To be perfectly honest with you, I think the buildup has remained with me since the end of 2017
Oh,
because I made a
wow.
huge transition. So
Oh,
I think the pressures have come all the way through 2018 with me.
yeah.
And to the point where I'm just like, well, like I started to get these ideas in December and writing things down and preparing for it. I'm like, I'll have this done and ready to go in January. And January is here. And I'm like, what the have I been doing?
Yeah.
And how is this all going to like get it out into the world? I was telling one of my friends just the other day that I have actually, well, I told you, but I use this example with somebody else too. It's like this filter of all these ideas and goals and things that I want to do, and they're all trying to filter out at the same time and they get stuck in the funnel. So like nothing's coming out. It's all in here and it's not coming out into the world.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems that way. And I was thinking about that yesterday too, because, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I've had things that I've wanted to do for years, like, the same. Like, yeah, I mean, like working on my book, for example. I've been saying that as like a New Year's thing for several years now, even though I swear this year, I'm like, this year I'm going to do it. But it's funny because yesterday I was kind of laughing about how when we do sometimes have these goals or intentions about what we think we're going to get done in the new year, but then, life happens. And a lot of times we can't even predict what our attention will be directed towards. And we still have a lot happen, but it's almost like we don't acknowledge all the things that actually happen because we're so we can only pinpoint what didn't happen, like that
Right.
one thing or those couple of things that didn't happen. So it's like everything else is crap.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I think that's a good point that you raised, because I have reflected back on 2018 and all these big plans I had didn't come to fruition. However, there was a lot that did happen, and I did make a lot of growth. You know, I mean, 2018, I'll just be totally honest. The financial instability that comes with quitting a very stable job is terrifying. And my whole life, I've always been very stressed out about finances. I probably haven't been needing to, but for whatever reason, that's in my life, and it's something that I work with. And I noticed in 2018, which was a huge thing for me, that even though I knew in the back of my mind, I still wasn't reacting the way that I had in the past, which was to be very frantic and very stressed out. So while these other things that I wanted to build hadn't come to fruition yet, I made a huge leaps and bounds of dealing with something that's been very, I don't want to say threatening, but it's been in my life, and it's been very limiting. So looking back on that, I've been like, wow, okay, I've been in observation of those little things.
Yeah, you just reminded me of two. I mean, and I think this is good for people to point out, like, say, for example, this, 2018 ended and you have been hard on yourself about something that didn't happen or that you didn't finish or accomplish. Like, how did that change you? Or if there was something that was tough, because when you're saying that, it reminds me of the same happened for me when I went from corporate into working for myself, even though mine wasn't on purpose. Like, I got laid off, and then, at first it was fine, but I did get to a point of like, holy crap, life, bills, what am I going to do? And I want to start trying to build this business, and which also takes money. So financially, I mean, it was very stressful. But one of the things I did notice was I also didn't respond to that stress in a way that I would have maybe in the past, where, I mean, it still was like tough and scary and like so many things. But really what came out of that is I was like forced into this space of having to learn trust in a new way. I ended up gaining a deeper appreciation for like every freaking thing, you know what I mean? Because before I, was just spending money all over the place, you know what I mean? Like going on trips with friends and just like living the life, but not even thinking about it. And so that experience made me like deeply appreciative of like, I don't know, anything like freaking a bottled water, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was like, there was a lot that I actually gained and learned through that year that was through those few years that were really tough on me. But anyway, so you made me think of that, of sometimes it's definitely not what we would hope our years to look like, maybe, but there's a lot of gems that come with that.
And I think it's good. We use the beginning of New Year's to set goals of where we want to go in the future, but it's also a good time to reflect back, because we can move mindlessly through a year, or like mindlessly trying to achieve these goals and then we fall into that pitfall of like, oh, I didn't do it. But to sit down and take account of what actually happened is super important, because like we're talking about, you might miss things that were very integral to your growth. Otherwise, what I've noticed, and I still am fighting it, I'm fighting it this month probably a lot, is that urge to go back to that which is comfortable. And because I'm like, oh, I didn't do it this year, I'm probably not supposed to be doing it, so I'll go get a corporate job again. And listen, it is an hour-to-hour wrestling with that idea right now for me. But what I also had to take account of was, what did I learn this past year? I did learn the trust you brought up too, trusting that the road will rise up to meet you, that finances will be fine. And maybe the lifestyle is different, but that stuff will work itself out. And to reflect back on that and know that you're shifting the pattern. Because if you mindlessly just move into like, oh, I didn't achieve those goals, it's probably not meant to be, I have to go back to what I'm supposed to do. Like we always discuss in everything we talk about, there's a lesson, there's something there to learn. And if you don't learn it, it will repeat itself until you do.
And what you're saying, it reminds me so much too of like that element that we also always talk about, is how you are a participant in it. you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so like, even like in this example that, you know, both of us now have experienced, even though like a lifestyle change happened, like you're still in your life and you still have choice in like what you do within this change, and you learn how to, you know, function differently. And like, yeah, maybe things look different than you thought, but you can't ignore that there is some type of progression happening. It reminds me of that whole like death and rebirth, you know, that destruction in order to rebuild, like that shit is real. Like we you know, a lot of transitions that we go through do require like a complete, like what feels like in some ways an obliteration of comfort or like what we're used to, but it's the only way that we learn how to, and we're almost like forced to like do things different and, you know, figure out our path or that goal or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Because you're like, what
When
the
things,
hell? I didn't sacrifice
when things,
nothing.
right. When things break apart, it creates more room for growth and for things to expand in our world.
I have like so much congestion on one side and it's killing me. Sorry.
Poor baby.
Yeah, but no, I mean, that's a really good point. So with that now, looking at, you know, although you made this transition the end of 2017, went through 2018 and maybe didn't do all of the things you thought that you were going to accomplish, now that you're at where you are now, do you see anything that you learned last year that will support you in how you move ahead or continue to build or work on whatever it is that you wanted, or has it completely changed?
Oh no, I've definitely noticed my own patterns, and I one of the things that really jumped out was when I'm always busy, as you know.
Yes.
But like, um, what is proactive busyness? Like, am I busy because I'm working on something that's going to be moved forward, or do I have to clean my house because it's dirty and I'll get to this other stuff as soon as my house is cleaned? You know,
Right.
like I know that I have behavioral patterns like that. And so to sit down and understand, like, why am I avoiding this thing that I know is something that I want, and I want to put it out there? Like, what are the things that are blocking me from actually looking at that and chasing that?
Yeah. That's a really a good one too. I actually did a podcast yesterday, and my question that I posed in the podcast was like, you know, just having consideration of like, how do I want to direct my life force energy? And that's what you just reminded me of. I mean, because there are so many times where we do like divert our attention away from our goals or like whatever we say our intended focus is. But I think we do that even mindlessly, or like you said, sometimes it's just we're performing from our pattern. And sometimes asking ourselves a question like that, like, how do I want to direct my energy right now, or what will best support me right now? Just those like little prompts, I think they hold us accountable and bring us back into that like moment of awareness of like, oh crap, I actually have choice in what I do right now. And I have to be accountable for acknowledging if I'm going to do something that's just distracting, or if I'm really going to have that discipline, which reminds me of Capricorn that you mentioned in the beginning, of using my energy and using this bit of time that I have to support what I say that I want to freaking do. So Capricorn, you mentioned that in the beginning. Does that speak to you at all, and like how you personally feel in the new year and that energy and how it supports like this new year window?
Yeah, I mean, I think this time of year always comes with like, you get a new planner, right? And they now have like things like, here are my goals for this year or this month. Show us, let's see it. Ooh, it's so beautiful. So beautiful. That's actually the one I looked on their site, and that's the one I would have gotten, I think. Or else it's the purple one with the dream catcher on it.
That's the one I had last year, the purple one with the dream catcher. No, but I love planners. Like I live for my new planner at the end of the year. Like I ordered this like, I think in November, because I get so excited of like, oh, new stuff to plan.
Yeah. And it's interesting, back to what we were talking about. I had for the longest time bought these little planners that I could fit in my purse and have it with me. And last year I found this bigger one, and it had things like, what are you going to do this week? Like, what are your goals? What do you need to buy at the store? Like, and I was like, oh, this is great. I'm going to sit down every week with it and plan things out and have goals. And I was looking at it this morning because I put my new one out there, and I was like, I didn't do shit with these things.
Oh my
Like
God.
the big plans that I had with it. And I reflect back, I'm like, why didn't I do that? Why did I have this big plan and I didn't follow through? And, you know, that kind of brought about the pressure of like not having done it last year, and am I going to do it this year? And then, you know, the whole guilt and shame spiral comes in, because it's like, well, am I going to do it? Do I really want this? Am I working towards it?
Yeah. And then when you're not, I mean, you have to ask yourself, why am I not? You know,
Yeah.
and I think
Yep.
that's a big thing too, is like a lot of times we just get stuck in the fact of like, oh, I didn't do it. Like, but why didn't
Yeah.
you do
Yep.
it? And, you know, and I think that's an interesting thing too, because on one hand, sometimes we come up with excuses for ourselves, but really even in our excuses, there's some truth under it. It's like you have to keep digging
For
and like
sure.
be so
Yeah.
honest with yourself. Like, oh, I just didn't have the time. Did you not have the time, or you didn't make the time? Or did you make other things priority? And again, why? Like,
Mm-hmm.
are you afraid? Did you not know what to do? Were you like doubting? Like what? Like, because if you don't work through those things, it'll continue to be what you put
Right.
off even in the new year.
And that's exactly the point there. I think that oftentimes we stop at that point where it's like, oh, I just didn't do it. And we could think of a superficial lame excuse as to why. But if we really do dig deep down, we're going to see that it's going to bring up emotional stuff. It's going to bring up responsibility. It's going to bring up all these hard things that we talk about all the time,
Totally.
of really investigating your own self. And
Yeah.
that's where the hard stuff comes in. And that's
Yeah.
why a lot of us deflect it, because that's the work.
And that's why we're here at My Body Energy Project, to doing the work.
100%.
And it's amazing, because now that you even say that, I think a lot of times when we think about this work, like, you know, it's very, people think it's like, it's isolated. Like it's just a small little bubble of their life that they work in. Like I do the work when I, you know, go to meditate, or I listen to Tiffy and Yoli on the podcast, or like whatever. But it's like this work and these tools and all these things we talk about all the time, like it helps us to work through our entire life. Like it helps us to work through all of our processes, through every point of focus, whether it's our relationship, our career, these new year goals, whatever it is. Like, yeah, they all require your participation, your true self-acknowledgement, like honesty. Holy crud. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, it permeates every facet of life.
Yeah, geez, no pressure. We're
Yeah,
talking
no.
about pressure, huh? No pressure at all. Because I was just thinking, you know, as you're saying that, I'm looking at the whole picture. You know, we will sit down and take time to just meditate or journal or whatever, but then we go about our lives, and it's a survival thing, right? You know, to some degree, we have to compartmentalize in order to get done what needs to get done. But I think it's starting to become aware of where you can bridge that gap of doing the work within your daily life versus having that compartmentalization. The compartmentalization can be a tool to help us move forward in the integration, but to be aware of, okay, is it purposeful that I'm compartmentalizing this right now, or is it an avoidance factor? And then starting to see, like, the work gets easier once you start integrating it, because it comes kind of second nature.
Yep. And now that you're saying that, I'm thinking of like, maybe we could even share like some things that we do to personally prepare for the new year, or these goals, or like how we navigate whatever because I don't really have like, I mean, sometimes like, yes, I have things I want to accomplish, but I don't make them like these hardline goals. It's just kind of like, yeah, I know these are some things I want to do. I usually have a point of focus every year. Like last year, my focus was community building. This year, still don't really have one, as much as like I want to build off of what I learned last year. So I'm really looking at this year as like transitional, not so much like this new energy, like, oh, it's all brand new, as much as like, okay, how do I continue on with what I've been learning and doing and expand and, make adjustments along the way. But a couple of things that help me, I sound like
You
so
sound
bad.
beautiful.
I'm so sorry. A couple of things that I do, just like we did our Oracle card thing. By the way, new deck I had to buy while I was back east.
A new one. I can't wait to hear the count.
Deck.
I want to hear the count of current.
Oh my God. Of my decks. Yeah, I should count my decks, and that should be a reason not to buy another one. But so I bought this new deck while I was there, and I spoke about it in my Dear Diary. But anyway, so I do a New Year's reading for myself in December every year, which we talked about in our last podcasts. I also always have what do you call it? An astrology forecast done for me for the year at the beginning of the year. I mean, usually I like to do it before my birthday, and my birthday's in January, but even if I was like you, a Scorpio, I would still do an annual forecast at the start of the year, just to have like a general overview of like what type of energies I may be playing with in this upcoming year. So I can, it's like kind of keep it in the back of the mind. And again, when certain things may come up that may be more challenging, if I already know like, oh, I know what this is about, it feeds into my choice of how I navigate it. So I have my astrology and my tarot. And then my final thing, of course, is my planner. But this, just like what you were describing, the other one keeps me on track because it has at the beginning like goals and dates that you want to accomplish things by, but like within 3 months, 6 months to a year, right? And then every month there are monthly goals, and then every week, aside from just your schedule, it asks you what your focus is every week, what your focus is for each day. There's like a personal to-do list, a work to-do, like all of this stuff that helps me to also like have this clear outline of what I want to pour my energy into, and it's written down. So if I don't, then I too am super accountable for whatever I didn't do and why. The end.
I like it. I drifted off for a minute because I just realized it was the first Wednesday of the month, and I'm like, sure hope my car is parked in a place that's not going to get a ticket.
Oh crap.
It's okay.
Okay.
It either starts at 10, or it either starts at 10 or I'm already screwed. So there's nothing.
Oh, Jesus. Let's hope for the best. So what about you? Are there any like, and I eat black eyed peas and greens on the 1st, which I did last night.
Oh.
Yeah. Nice. So the greens are for abundance, and the black eyed peas, it's like good luck and abundance. It's like a Southern tradition thing.
Oh, I like that.
So yeah, those are my New Year's things that I do to kind of prep. What about you?
I don't have anything ritualistically that I do that's been consistent. There's not last year, but the year before that, for like three years or so, I just stayed home by myself, like cooked a nice meal, watched a movie, and did a meditation and planned out, like kind of reflected back on what had happened the year before and what I wanted to work on. And I did it. What I was doing is that I actually I would align them with the chakras and kind of like revisit like at the root chakra, like grounding and stability. What are things that went along with what happened the year before and that I want to perhaps change or see grow in that realm? And then I'd work up the line of the chakras. I probably will do that at some point this week just to check in, but also thinking about moving forward, what am I going to do? For me, Mind Your Chakras is the business that I want to like put out into the world. So that's kind of, that is my life force. And I really need to sit down and like plan that out this year. And I did, I bought a big wall calendar because I was like, okay, we're going to get the schedule out of topics and things that I'm going to do. So I think for me, that's a big deal. Planning out what's going to happen. Last year was such a transitional year because I quit that job and was moving into doing this stuff that I kind of gave myself a break in January. And I was like, making that transition and all of the pressures that were building, I was like, why don't I just learn to relax? And I think that's pretty much what last year was taking it easy and learning how to find rest within the pressures or the chaos of transition.
Huh.
So
So
not
what you just said,
necessarily.
I mean, I think that goes with our energy update that we did for January. I think
Mhm.
in this month, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of what came up in the cards we pulled for the MB Insiders was about like rest and rejuvenation for this month.
Yeah, that did come up.
So yeah.
Yeah.
No, but that is a really good one. And knowing too, I mean, it's not like we're the ones that put the pressure on ourselves. It's not like, like some New Year's Eve, like elf is like, like watching you,
Yeah.
like some little gremlin is going to get you if you don't, get on the ball on January 1st and take off running. I mean, it really is a continuation of your life and
Right.
like your process and like how you want things to unfold and what you want to do. But it reminds me too of like, just acknowledging that no matter what your goals are, no matter what you're building into, no matter what you're doing, it's all a process and it's like one
Right.
step at a time. And we talked about this recently. I don't remember in what context, but there's like this maturation process. I mean, like, it's not going to be overnight. Like, and part of even you, Tiffany, like what you learned last year, part of what you learned on a personal level, like on a soul level, that will help feed into this business that you're building, So I think a lot of times we also overlook that our personal challenges and lessons and whatever we go through, even those things support us in what it is we think we're trying to create in the output, like tangible result.
I was thinking about how a couple of people asked me what my New Year's resolution were. And my answer was that I don't make them. And I kind of stopped making them a while ago because I decided if I'm going to do something, I'm going to decide to do it and then do it versus like utilizing the beginning. I think it's a great thing to do at the beginning of the year and, set goals, but especially being in the fitness industry, I've seen a lot of people, the pressure comes in where it's like, okay, after the holidays, I'm going to lose 20 pounds, and we set these lofty goals and then we create this prison around it of us not like integrating life because we limit ourselves. And again, I do think that discipline and limitation are very important, but thinking about the reasons you're doing it and the execution of how you're doing it, what I'm getting at is as you were saying that, I was picturing, when we create the work as like a participation of our life versus it just being an item that's in there, I feel like the pressure comes in when we take everything that we want to do and put it in this one place versus diffusing it out into the whole pervasive picture of our life. Does that make sense?
No, it totally makes sense. And when you were saying that, the visual that I was having was a map, like literally like this gigantic map that we lay out in front of us. And someone says like, okay, so where do you want to be or where do you want to go? And so there's this clear path drawn on the map, but there's no buildings, there's no trees, there's no elements around this path. And that like we have to literally add the elements as we go. Do you know what I like, and maybe you'll carve off like a little shortcut or a detour as you go. So even though there is like this destination, we still don't really know what the hell it's going to look like until we step foot on the path and, get into the process of it all.
I really like that. This just gave me like a really big idea.
Oh, good. Yay. Yeah, ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it reminds me too of that. What's that saying? Like, life is a journey. Life is about the journey, not the destination. And that.
Yeah, Aerosmith said that.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm sure it was before Aerosmith too at some point, but yeah.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because when I heard it the other day, I was thinking I need to Google who actually said this, like the originator of this.
Yeah. I don't know where it originated, but it is in an Aerosmith song. I used to be a huge Aerosmith fan.
Yeah.
But so yeah, that you bring up a good point with that saying because, and
wait, can I just I can't get
Yeah.
what's his name? Tyler. What's his name?
Steven Tyler. He's
Steven
like
Tyler.
this
Now I
big.
can't get him out of my
You fit him
head
in your
since you
pocket.
said that. No, I know exactly. I know
I
Aerosmith.
love
I
him. He's
know
so
him. I know.
cute.
Hello, grew up in Boston. I could
Yeah,
not
yeah,
know him, but God, no, I need him to get out of my head. Go.
yeah.
Exit.
Why? Keep him
Because
there.
it's like I could just see him with his little microphone and all.
I love him. He's great.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, what were we talking about?
In 2019, we shall still go down rabbit holes.
Oh, the destinations. Yes,
Yeah.
the destinations. So, I don't know if I was listening to something, talking to somebody, or reading it. I don't know where this came from, but it was something about how, like, I do sometimes find that quote, life's a journey, not a destination, super fucking annoying because sometimes I just want to get to the destination. Sorry. You need a hot toddy next
I'm like
to you.
trying so hard not to laugh at you because it makes all of the mucus just want to like
So
come out.
sorry. Sorry, I'll try to be less funny.
Okay, it's really annoying. Annoying quote. Carry on.
Because sometimes I just want to fucking get to the destination,
Right.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I understand the importance of the journey and what we learn. And but the reality of it is that we spend all this time working towards the destination. Sometimes we don't look at the road around us as we're getting there. And then we get to the destination and that's it.
Yeah.
You're done. Now you need to set a new destination. So actually getting to the destination, like actually being there versus the process of it is really, there's nothing to it.
The gems are in the process. And
exactly.
the gems are in the process. I mean, it just
right.
it goes back to like what you said of like, you know, you made this huge life transition end of 2017. You had this destination in mind, which is still the destination, but there were so many gems of what you learned about you and fear and life in the process. And you know, the same is true for me. Like my friend told me, of course, you know, I got the Happy New Year's text yesterday. And my friend was like, oh, you know, Happy New Year, friend, something. She asked me what I was thinking about. And I was like, you know, interestingly, I was just sitting here thinking that this is the first new year in a long time where I have felt like peace. Like I was just, yesterday, I was so happy to be home, back from the East Coast. I'm sick, but that's fine. I don't care. I was like, I just, in this very moment right now, I just feel chill. I feel at peace. And let me tell you, after, let me say, maybe like 7 years of feeling like not, like it was just like this amazing feeling of like, because there was a lot of movement. You know, I was thinking about that the other day. I've had a lot of what has felt like nonstop dramatic movement in my life in the last 7 years. So whether it was like, you know, personal growth, like my personal transitions, you know, building my business, all these things, like nothing ever felt like really like so calm in 7 years, you know what I mean? And so it was like just to have that 1 minute of just like, oh man, like I really feel like wait, what? This is what, wait, huh? I was super thankful for it. And it also speaks to how I want to enter this year. Like even though there's still a lot that I want to do and these destinations and like whatever, I don't want to go into them frantically. I don't want to, you know, hold these goals over my head or these things I want to do in a way that I'm like constricted and freaking the fuck out. You know, I really want to be like, okay, we're going to just see how this goes. Like kind of, you know, I just want to peacefully wade through this. And yeah, that's my intention to go through this creation year with some like ease and grace. That's what I want to do.
Is the creation year your creation year, or is it 2019 as a creation?
2019 is a universal year 3. I'm in a personal year 8.
Right. You and me both.
Yes, we're in personal year 8.
Yeah.
Maybe we should tell people that really quick, because Tiffany and I have talked about recently the universal year is the energy of a 3 in the system of numerology, and you get that by adding the digits of the year itself, 2019. So you add the 2 plus the 1 plus the 9, and that's how we get 3, because that equals 12. And in numerology, you keep adding the digits until you reduce down to a single digit. I hope this makes sense to you. So if you want to know your personal year, you add the digit or digits of your birth month, your actual birth day, like the day you were born, and then plus the number 3, because we're in a universal year 3. So that makes sense. Like my birthday is January 22nd. So 1 and 22 is 5 plus 3, because we're in a universal year 3, equals 8. And that's why my personal year is an 8. Ooh, I really have to blow my nose.
You can.
So anyway, yeah, you can look up your personal year. Personal year, and that will also speak to not only that we're in this 3-year, this universal year of like creative energy, creativity, but you can see what type of energy your personal year holds, according to numerology.
Maybe that's something we should do our next podcast on.
Oh, we have so many things to speak to y'all about. We actually said we were going to do the chakras, which I think should be our next thing, because I think it will also pour into your destination.
Oh, now don't do that to me, because then I'm going to have to take responsibility of doing things.
Oh, yeah, honey. Get you in there. So, of course, we want to know from all of you, like, how you are stepping into this new year. If you have any goals, intentions, destinations for yourself, the energy that you're feeling, if you are pressuring yourself to get things done, or even how you navigate that. Like, do you just stick a goal on the wall and you're just like, carry on with life? Like, what does your process look like? And do you have any suggestions for all of us who may struggle with it?
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, Yolanda, how do you diffuse the pressure of goals and expectations when they start to bubble up?
I did 7 years of not diffusing shit.
So you're working on that this year.
Yeah. Like this
year, you look back as to how did I do it now versus 7 years of not doing it.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about me is I have a pattern of, and my personality is kind of like, if I say I'm going to do something, I can't rest until I get it done. So I literally have, in this process of like building my business and doing these things, I made myself in a lot of ways like a crazy maker, because I couldn't let anything rest, let alone myself. So it was like, if I said I'm going to do this thing, like I will stay up all night until I get this thing done. Like I'm very, I have a lot of Capricorn in my chart. So this year I'm like, no, I'm going to be easy on myself. Like I'm not going to stress myself out, because it's just like what you said. Like I would put all this pressure on myself of like, oh my God, I got to do this, and I got to create this program, and I got to create this course, and I gotta. And I did all this stuff with such this like taskmaster energy around it, that I think I missed out on some of the joy in it all. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And it just felt like these are things I have to do. I have to get it done. Like very, obligatory. Yeah. And I think I would have had a lot more fun in the process had I like chilled out a bit and allowed myself to like kind of like dance with the process and not be so rigid about it all. So yeah, I mean, listen, I can tell you after this year is over what it's like, because honestly, this is the first time I feel like I'm consciously making a choice that I'm going to still be diligent, but do it with a lot more peacefulness and like kindness to myself.
I think that's a really huge point that you raised, because there is so much enjoyment in what it is that we're doing, but we focus so much again on the destination or the goal that we lose sight of why maybe we should investigate why we even set that goal, because I think there's some subconscious level to the fact that we set this goal because we know what we're going to experience on the way to that goal.
Yes.
You know?
And I have to say, even though I was like very hard on myself, I guess you would say, in these last 7 or even 8 years, maybe, I did learn a lot, even in being very hard on myself. And I mean, I stressed myself out probably more than was necessary, but I still, you know, I really did learn a lot. And I mean, even that, I mean, saying it now, I learned a lot of what happens when you stress yourself out and put a lot of pressure on yourself, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I definitely want to do that in a new way. And I honestly don't even know where that came from outside of just yesterday sitting there and feeling like being consciously aware of feeling just a moment of pure peace. I was like, yeah, I want to live in this space. Like just want to.
So yesterday, I shared this with you, Yolanda, yesterday when we talked, but so yesterday was New Year's Day, and I found myself pretty much just, well, everything's perspective, right? So my normal self is like, you wasted a day, because I literally lounged around all day. I binge watched a season of something. Like, I did all the things that I don't normally do that do not lend themselves to being progressive. And I was like, am I setting the tone of how this year is going to go by doing this? So I had set an expectation and put pressure on myself of like, get your shit together, Sheree, like go do something, because you're wasting it all away. And even now, as I'm sitting wondering, like, am I going to get a ticket on my car? Because I've never gotten a parking ticket ever in my 13 years of living here. And I'm like, is today the day? And like, will that set the tone of my entire year? But as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, even if these things did, I'm setting expectations on circumstances that are happening yesterday and today, right?
Yeah.
And this came through yesterday as well. It's like, you know, just because I'm starting the year off this way and I had expectations of how I think I should be doing the first day of the year, or like whatever tone I'm trying to set.
Yeah.
The thing is that I can change the tone.
Totally.
You know? So
yeah.
I think that expectations and pressures that we put on ourselves keep us kind of in captivity of just this ideal.
Oh yeah.
And so then that's where the pressure comes from. It's because we forget the fact that like you look at something and you can change your perspective of it, or you can change how you think it's going to bleed into the rest of whatever lies ahead.
Oh my God, you just reminded me, because I was thinking of this like in the background, how you're thinking about your ticket. Me in the background, I was thinking about how my house is still not like spick and span clean right now. And one of the hard line like rituals for me for New Year's is a clean, spotless house. Like I do not like to go into the new year with like, I like everything to be spick and span, like kind of like spring cleaning, but because I believe like, you know, your environment affects your energy. So I always like to start the new year and like everything in its place, super clean, spotless, because it's like, refresh. I'm going to fresh energy, fresh year. Listen, I got off that plane on Sunday. I don't know. It's only Wednesday. I'm still dealing with snot. Like, listen, I haven't done it. And it's bugging me so bad, right? And then, but there is that part of me too that's like, really? Like, you're going to base your whole year on the fact that you didn't yet clean the whole house? Like, you know, although, you know, so I'm kind of like, oh, just thinking about my ease and grace. Like, be easy. Like, you're going to clean it. Maybe tomorrow, whatever. It'll
clean
get
it after
done.
you get all of those germs out of your system. There you go. Yeah.
Lysol and bleach the whole house while I'm at it. Yeah. So there's that. I'm about to have a coughing attack. I gotta press mute while you talk.
Well, I talk about something that I can't think to talk about. When she puts me on the spot like this, I have a little bit of a mental breakdown. Now she's leaving me. Okay, let's see. Pressures of the New Year's and goals. I'm feeling a lot of pressure now trying to lead this on my own. This is why I don't do podcasts solo, but that's part of what my New Year thing is to do. But speaking of that, so having expectations and goals and things that we put pressure on ourselves for, all of 2018, I was trying to put together my Mind Your Chakras podcast. And it started with a lot of episodes that Yolanda and I created together prior to the MBE project. So I knew I needed to do a solo podcast because I'm like, it's my thing. It's Mind Your Chakras. Have you been listening, or is this new?
No, I
Okay.
completely new. I just blew everything out. What'd you say?
Well, I'm talking about the expectation I put on myself of doing solo podcasts.
Yeah.
Because when you went away, I started to like get really frantic about what the fuck I was doing here alone. But I was saying the expectation of doing my solo podcast was really heightened, and I needed to do it, and I didn't. I did a couple of trial ones, and they did not go well. But at the end of last month, I sat down, and I actually, when I was home on the East Coast, I had a lot of clarity and figured out a new way of making the solo podcast happen for me. I'm not comfortable talking alone into a microphone, just rambling on about something, but I figured out a process of writing it's going to be a dual like article and also like an audible version of the article that is legible. So
beautiful.
I came across that and I was like, okay, I'm like, if I can write all of this down and then I can speak it onto the podcast, it's almost like it's an article, but it's also people can just listen to it.
Yeah, you'll be like an audiobook.
Right. So for almost 365 days, I was being hard on myself and putting pressure on myself to do it this one specific way because that was the only way. And I had a breakthrough. I was like, well, wait a second. This way is more conducive for me and how I operate. So why can't I do it that way? So the expectations really kind of fucked my shit up all last year.
That's such a good one too, is like how you were saying before, like why we don't follow through with our goals. And a lot of times it's as simple as that, is we think there's only one way to do it, and that one way may not work for us. So even having that openness of like, maybe there's a different way to do whatever that thing is. And I'm going to be on you. My taskmaster is going to be on your butt about your solo podcast this year. But I have to say, like, even doing mine yesterday, I kind of was laughing at myself. One, because I have had a challenging time with my solo podcast this year in 2018, because I've done so many collaborations and interviewing people that I feel like talking about myself is foreign now. I don't know what to. So I really struggled with it, and I honestly skipped a lot of weeks because I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I don't know how. And yesterday, I've been like a goofball since I've been home. I think that's how happy I am to not be in DC. I have been so just like goofy and like, whoa, since I've gotten home. And so yesterday when I did the podcast, I was in that energy still of like, yeah, okay, let's talk. And I had no problem doing it. And I was like, maybe I have to like really set my mood first, like make sure like my energy, like I'm really like in that space of, I don't know, excitement. I don't know what, but that was what I realized. Okay, this year moving forward, working on my solo podcast, I have to really be mindful of setting my energy, getting it right before I start recording. Because we play off of each other, you know what I mean? Yeah. But when it's just you by yourself, man, you really gotta figure something out.
Yeah. Which again brings us back to the idea of being responsible for our energy and how we are managing our own lives.
Yeah.
It's hard, but it's important.
It is so important. And, I'm really excited for all of us, quite honestly, for this new year. I mean, I'm excited about the My Body Energy Project. Side note, thank you so much to our Patreons who have been supporting us. And thank you to our new Patreons.
Yeah, yay. We got a new one. So exciting.
Yeah, I was like, what? Oh my God,
I know.
so exciting. So thank you all so much. And, you guys know, like, we do put our heart into this and we love sharing with you. And we have a lot we want to share this year, but we always love hearing from you as well. So if there are things that you would like to discuss here on the My Body Energy Project, always reach out and let us know. We're open for it.
Some of our best discussions have come from Patreons telling us what they want to hear.
Absolutely.
So,
And, please do share on Facebook too, letting us know what your personal New Year rituals may be, your goals, your intentions, or how you work through the energy of the pressure of the new year, or if you just don't have any pressure at all. Whatever it is,
and if that's the case, let us know how that happened.
How did you do that? How are you so easy breezy? No. That's I should put that on my wall. That's gonna be my theme of the year. Easy breezy.
I like it.
I want to be busy and productive, but easy breezy production. This should be very interesting.
It will be, very much so.
Okay. Well, so is that it for today, my love?
Yeah, I think that was a lot of information.
I know.
In what felt like a short amount of time.
You never know what's gonna come out of our mouths, I swear.
You
never know. I feel like Flashdance right now.
Oh, your outfit. I was like, what is gonna happen next? Because I didn't know what to do by that.
Oh, I look like, anyway, sorry. Rabbit hole.
Yes.
We love you guys so much. Happy New Year.
Yes, happy 2019. And be easy with the pressures that you're putting on yourself, but also responsible for the actions that you're taking.
Yes. Yes. That's a great one. And maybe for our Patreons, we'll do a post for you guys, on the Patreon page within this process about figuring out your own personal numerology. So you guys
that could be a cool one. I like that. Alrighty.
Ciao, Bella.
Au revoir.